or our participating sponsors.
If you're not out of the bed yet, then what are you waiting for? It's the WVON Morning Show with Rufus Williams on 1690 WVON.
Every day you're walking by and I can see how you shine. Here I am alone with nothing but a dream that you are mine. Just exactly what I'll do, I don't know, baby, but I gotta find a way to reach you. Tell me what I gotta do to get to your house. Tell me where I gotta go to be with you. Tell me what I gotta say to speak to your heart. Tell me what I need to know tonight.
Keep your eyes on the road and both hands on the steering wheel. We will not be held responsible for any accidents. It's the WVON Morning Show with Rufus Williams on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
The Audio Genius.
Get in on the conversation with Rufus Williams and the Morning Show at 591-1690. We are the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
Good morning, and welcome to Tuesday. It is the 21st of April, the year 2026. It's the Rufus Williams Show. I am Rufus Williams, and as always, thrilled, delighted, and so excited to be here with you this morning. And thank you so much for waking up with Rufus. Annette, tell me, remember when there was a time when violence happened and it was a rare thing? It seems that every day there's a big report about some violence somewhere.
Yeah, you're right. It seems like it goes in cycles when we see, situations is like, it cycles in and then it cycles out, but you're absolutely correct.
Yeah, there's these stunning things. And now you've got someone shooting from the top of the pyramids in Mexico, which each point it seems to stun society because now it makes us think, are we safe when we go someplace on vacation from this randomness? It's just if the intent was to be disturbing, then it's disturbing.
Yeah, it is. And I mean, low key, we think about it. I think about it sometimes when I'm in a crowded, space and, just looking up and seeing opportunities if, somebody who was unbalanced had it. I don't know if it's a issue, and you think about it when it happens. Is it an issue of gun control? Is it an issue of mental illness or all of the above? I mean, there is something we need to be looking at.
Yeah, I think it certainly is an issue of too many guns, because if the guns weren't there, the shootings wouldn't happen. It would be something else, yes, but it certainly wouldn't be this, which seems to be so unbelievably convenient in this day and age.
Yeah, in the incident you're talking about, what was that? There were 13 people hurt in that situation. I just kind of heard it in glancing and didn't really focus on it at the time. But, it's just a horrific thing to think about.
Right. That's what I mean. It happens so often that it just becomes normalized in our society. Titus, I got a problem.
What's that?
I've got an NBA problem.
Playing too late.
Man, playing too late and the games are too good. Last night, I fell asleep on the sofa. Believe it or not, I had to rewatch the end of the Knicks game because I fell asleep before it ended, and the end was phenomenal.
Yeah, that was a fun game. I'm not even going to lie. It was a great ending. Feel bad for my brother Jalen Brunson. He missed a couple key shots in that game, but, it's a fun series so far.
It's going to happen. As Michael Jordan says, you got to, I can deal with not winning. I can't deal with not trying.
Absolutely.
So he's the man. He's going to take the shots. And it appears that C.J. McCollum is the new Reggie Miller in New York City because he was slaying them last night. It was fun. You know, the more fun was watching the reaction of all these stars on the side of the court who were in such dismay because the Knicks lost at the last minute. That part, it just takes us back to the Bulls and the Bulls beating the Knicks. So we don't. It's a certain way you feel or don't feel. The Knicks aren't going to ever. The Knicks in Detroit just can't ever have that because
That's true.
because of the Bulls in the 90s. And then the next game, I mean, Minnesota's down by 19 points in the first half, and the game's tied at halftime.
See, that was crazy. I didn't see that comeback coming.
Yeah, and the game's tied at halftime. It's only tied because Denver hits a long, ridiculous shot at the half, or they would have been down by 3. It was just crazy. But I went to bed at that time, Titus. It was already 11 o'clock. I mean, what are they doing? And tonight, the Lakers game doesn't even start till 9:30.
See, that's too late for me.
I'm not watching that game.
I'm just got to get used to no sleep again.
I'm not watching even the beginning of that game. I'm not. I'm going to bed. Although, okay, I just lied.
I'll say I'll keep you updated.
I just lied because actually I'm traveling and I'll just be arriving where I'm going at 9:30. So it'll be another one of those days again. Another one of those days. Look, we got a lot going on today, and I've got a guest on the line. Even as we get started, Rev Brian Sauder is doing a thing with Faith in Place to try and help as we need to recognize Earth Week. Rev Sauder, good morning and welcome to WVLN.
Hey, good morning, Rufus. Good morning, everyone. It's great to be with you.
No, it's good to have you. Talk to us first about Faith in Place.
Yeah, Faith in Place is an amazing organization, I get the great opportunity to be the CEO of. We work across Illinois, Indiana, and Wisconsin. We're based here out of Chicago, where I live with my family. And our vision is that the local church, the local mosque, the local synagogue, that they're really leading the way for environmental justice in our community. So we partner with hundreds and hundreds of different faith institutions, and we help them tackle issues that are facing our community that are related to environmental justice. And what we mean by that, it looks different from community to community. Some of our neighborhoods are experiencing a lot of basement flooding, so we partner with the local faith community to work on that through rain gardens, cisterns, permeable parking lots. Some of our communities, need opportunities for high school youth. So we have an environmental justice career youth program called our Eco Ambassador Program. Some of our communities are looking to increase access to open space or local healthy food. So we work with them to get more outdoors, to do that in a way that's accessible and equitable. And then we, as a huge network of different faith traditions, we come together and we do advocacy work. So whether that's local advocacy or statewide advocacy with our state legislators, or even federal advocacy as well, are things that we're all working on as a network. So think of Faith in Place as this amazing network of faith communities, mosques, temples, synagogues, parishes, churches that are working together to care for our common home.
How long have you been around doing this kind of work?
Faith in Place was started in 1999. I was lucky to be hired on as an organizer back in 2010, and then I became the CEO in 2014. So it's been a moment. I'm now the old guy at the club, as we say here at Faith in Place.
You rarely hear a reverend speak in that way, but I get it totally. Now, for thinking about a place of spirituality dealing with environmental and racial justice seems to be unique. Why those things? Why did that become what Faith in Place really works with?
Okay, now you're going to get a reverend speaking. So, Dr. Benjamin Chavis was a UCC minister, and back in the 70s, he was actually the first one, a faith-based voice, to coin the term environmental racism. And what the UCC church did back then is they did a study of all the different factors of where toxic waste gets placed throughout our nation, and they correlated a whole bunch of factors. And today we know, and it's going to be no surprise to anybody listening, the number one correlating factor of why toxic waste was put into a community was because of race. And so Dr. Benjamin Chavis really named that environmental racism was something that we needed to talk about, something we needed to address, and something that we needed to dismantle. And really the whole environmental justice movement started in Warren County, North Carolina. Black church women were sick and tired of toxic waste being dumped in their communities. They led a protest. This was like 1981. They laid their bodies on the road to prevent the trucks from coming into their communities. And that got the attention of national civil rights leaders at that time. And that sort of launched the environmental justice movement in this country. So Faith in Place started much later than that in 1999, but we trace our lineage and our legacy back to those early movements of really helping our faith institutions understand that this is part of our ministry, this is part of our witness, this is part of our work and community, is to connect the dots between environment and racism and do that work to dismantle that injustice.
Fantastic. And you're doing something even bigger with dismantling that injustice environmentally with some money that's available to help some people do some things. We'll talk about that when we come back. We're talking with Rev Brian Sauder. He is in charge of Faith in Place. We'll be back more with the Reverend right after this.
More of the morning show with Rufus Williams coming up on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
WVON turned 63 years young in April, and we're celebrating all month long.
Well, look at that, ooh,
Join us for WVON Night at the Black Ensemble Theater on Friday, April 24th for the return of the award-winning play, The Jackie Wilson Story. This electrifying production will have you singing and dancing in the aisles as the Black Ensemble brings this musical legend to life. His voice, his moves, his music, it changed everything from Jackie Wilson's Lonely Teardrops to Higher and Higher. It's more than a musical. It's a theatrical experience. Join the afternoon show's personalities, that'd be me, Atiba Buchanan, and LaDonna Ray, as we host WVON Night at the Black Ensemble Theater, 4450 North Clark, Friday, April 24th.
Get your tickets now at blackensembletheater.org or click the Black Ensemble banner at WVON.com.
WVON is 63 and still having fun.
Tuned in to your favorite WVON personalities on Facebook Live? Don't just watch, like it, love it, share it. Every click helps us grow the conversation and keep the community strong. So remember, like it, love it, share it, Chicago.
Paid for by government.com. Here's your chance to get 5 iconic United States silver dollars spanning the last 150 years in one amazing set. Experts agree this is a must-have for silver coin buyers. That's right. All 5 silver dollars are legal tender official United States mint coins. If you call 1-800-973-9717 right now, we'll send you this ultimate 5-piece American silver dollar set with each silver coin in extremely fine or brilliant uncirculated condition. Guaranteed. This set includes every type of U.S. silver dollars in American history, issued from 1878 to 2024. Call 1-800-973-9717 now to secure your 150 years of U.S. silver dollars 5-piece set. Plus, receive a bonus display case, an information booklet, and free shipping. Don't miss your chance. Call 1-800-973-9717 now to secure your 5-piece set of iconic U.S. silver dollars before they are gone. That's 1-800-973-9717.
It's Matt McGill.
Matt, we did want to give you a little how do you do today from McGuire. How do you do, Matt McGill? How do you do? How do you do, Matt McGill? How do you do? You may think you're upper class, but you're just a horse's. How do you do, Matt McGill? How do you do?
Thank you, guys.
McGuire, you're welcome.
Matt McGill on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
This report is brought to you by Ashley Furniture. Ready for a home refresh? Now's the season to finally make it happen. At Ashley's Spring Savings Event 72-hour sale, save up to 25% on your entire purchase with select spring styles, starting at just $4.99 and only at Ashley's.
WVON traffic and weather now.
Morning rush hour in full effect. You're looking at a 30-minute trip along the Ryan from 95th Street to downtown. On the outbound side, you do want to look out for a disabled vehicle. It is blocking the right shoulder at 51st Street, not affecting any travel time, traffic light traveling out. The Bishop Ford, Tuskegee Airmen Memorial, and DuSable Lakeshore Drive, okay for now. However, turning to the Stevenson, you're already looking at an hour from I-355 to DuSable Drive, 45 minutes traveling out. The Eisenhower, also an hour from Thorndale to the Burns Circle. That outbound trip will take you 50 minutes. And the Kennedy in from O'Hare to downtown, a 50-minute trip. Getting to the airport now slow at 50 minutes. Taking a look at our weather, turning noticeably warm today after the few days we've just had as temperatures climb into the mid-70s. Currently, we're in the 50s. It's 52 at Midway, 52 at Rainbow Beach, and 52 degrees here at the Talk of Chicago. That's a look at traffic and weather now. I'm NF Lenoy on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
Keep your eyes on the road and both hands on the steering wheel. We will not be held responsible for any accidents. It's the WVON Morning Show with Rufus Williams on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
Welcome back. We're talking with Rev Brian Sauder, Faith in Place. Got a big thing going on as you talk about environmental justice. You're doing something ahead of Earth Day in connection with the Workforce Community Grant. Reverend Sauer, tell us about that.
Yeah, absolutely, Rufus. So let's talk a little bit about trees, and then we'll talk about the grant that we have to help communities plant trees. But trees are magical in many ways. We don't think about it often, but let me give you a couple examples. One is a tree-lined street can be 2 to 9 degrees Fahrenheit cooler than a bare pavement street, which in the summertime can be up to 45 degrees hotter. So that shade that those trees provide is really important. And, we started at the top of the hour. You all were talking about, some of the shootings and violence in the community. I've learned a little bit from my friends who work in gun violence and other things that there's a link between heat and violence in our communities. And one thing we can do is plant trees because it creates more cooling in the community. And guess what? If a tree is shading your house, you won't have to run your air conditioner as much, and so your energy bill is going to be lower. The other thing that trees do that we don't think about is they remove pollution. So as our cars drive by on the streets, maybe the diesel trucks drive by, trees are really good at absorbing that pollution that's linked, to more asthma attacks and heart problems, and that's associated with ER visits. So trees are a really powerful, aspect of our communities and provide real sort of value. There's some studies out there that show that there's economic value with trees when they're lining our streets in our communities. And so what we know is this is again, an environmental justice issue because the neighborhoods that have been disinvested from, that also includes a lack of trees or a tree canopy in those communities. And so Faith in Place is working with our local faith partners to try to plant more trees. And then when we plant trees actually need some watering, some taking care of, and that provides opportunities for jobs and job creation. And so last year, we gave out $1.2 million to different faith communities. It can be faith communities, again, a mosque, a synagogue, a parish, a house of worship, or just a local nonprofit, like we partnered with Rainbow Beach PAC, for example, on the South Side, or other great community groups. To partner with them, each grant can be up to $30,000, and they can plant trees and then use a smaller portion of that money to plant the trees and then a larger portion of that money to pay for the ongoing maintenance. So you get all those benefits from trees in your community, but then you have money set aside to pay for the ongoing maintenance and watering of those trees, make sure they survive and thrive and really invest back in our communities.
I have a cousin, he passed recently, but I have a cousin who owned a lot of land down in Louisiana. We sit on his porch and he just say, Rufus, everything begins with a tree. And no matter what you're doing, that's where everything began. So this is so important, this opportunity. So when you and you're right, in all the ways in which you just described how we look at trees and we can look at the benefits of them, all the way to workforce development, this is a really important initiative that you're leading. How do people apply for these grants, and who would qualify?
Yeah, the one thing I want to just emphasize for listeners is, like, you might be thinking like, wow, that sounds great, Maybe my church would love to do that, but we don't know anything about trees. So I want to reassure folks that you do not have to be a tree expert to apply. We have some amazing resources and even amazing staff available to help you think this through. This is money that's coming from the USDA, U.S. Forest Service, so it's a federal grant. So there are some I's to dot, some T's to cross, but we'll walk you through it. If you visit faithandplace.org and just look up our Tree Canopy Community Grant, there's a lot of great information there. To be eligible to apply, you do need to be a 501c3. You can be, that can be our local nonprofit. And we are prioritizing these dollars in disinvested communities. So there's kind of two ways on the website folks can see if they're eligible. One is there's a tree canopy tool where you just plug in the address, of your church, of your mosque, or your parish, and you can see if you get the score where there's not what we want to see for tree canopy in your community, then you're eligible. There's also another tool there around income. And if you qualify there, you can also apply it. So it just takes a little bit of work. We got it really set up nice on the website so folks can look that up. And then the website has a whole bunch of FAQs that you can look through, and also a lot of examples of different groups. Because last year we gave out quite a bit of this money, and a lot of local groups applied and are successfully implementing these projects. So folks can find out all the information there at the website, and we'd love to see your application come in.
Fantastic. What is there a time that the applications open and close?
Yeah, the applications are due May 7th. So it's April 21st. We're celebrating Earth Week. So you have a couple of weeks here to pull together your application, submit it by May 7th. We're going to then turn around and award the applications this summer. And that way, the best time to plant trees are in the spring and the fall. And that way, folks can do their planting of their trees in the fall. And then this is a long-term relationship. If you get an award, say you get the $30,000, you make your plans to plant, you plant in the fall. Faith and Place is going to walk alongside you all the way through the spring of 2029 to really make sure that these trees thrive and survive in your community, and you have the workforce piece, to go from this fall all the way to spring of 2029 to support the maintenance and the watering of those trees.
Fantastic. The invitation for grant proposals, frequently asked questions, and application materials can be found at faithandplace.org/Tree Canopy Community Grant. Check it out. It's a wonderful opportunity for all the reasons, Reverend Sauder, that you explained. Who'd have thunk it? And it's really good and really important. How many grants will be given out this year?
Yeah, so last year we had a little bit more money. We had 1.2 million. So we gave out 44 different grants. And then this year we have 466,000 remaining to give out. So it's up to $30K per project. People don't need to spend, apply for the full $30K. So we're estimating it's going to be somewhere between 16 and 20 projects total.
Great. Fantastic. I'm so happy to have learned about this. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing it with us, and blessings to you and all that you do.
I appreciate that. One final word I'd say is a lot of our faith partners have gotten creative, and a lot of them are planting fruit trees. So not only do you get the benefit that we already talked about of trees, but they're also planting fruit trees so that folks can enjoy the fresh fruit from their local trees. So we've got some great church communities on the south side, west side that are learning about fruit trees. And then there's more of a workforce component to the pruning and learning about those fruit trees. But that's another way to address not just the shade that's happening, but the local food issues that we're having, that we can increase the local food and awareness around the benefits of trees too. So I want to put that plug in case that sparks someone's imagination as they're thinking about applying for this, that it could be, the trees that are appropriate for the neighborhood, but it could also be fruit trees as well.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Reverend Sauder. We appreciate your information and all the work that you're doing here.
Hey, thank you. It's great to meet with you all.
Indeed, and thanks for being with us. Be well. Let's find out from Annette what's going on in the news. We've got more for you on the other side.
Well, what a difference a day makes. Temps are expected to climb into the mid-70s. I'm in Illinois, and here's what's happening. The Chicago Transit Authority is ending its contract for unarmed security guards on the transit system. The union that represents the guards said the CTA laid off more than 150 of their people. The CTA said the funding will now be directed to sworn Chicago police officers and other security resources. The move comes after the Trump administration ordered the agency to improve safety for riders following several vicious crimes on the CTA. Well, Keith Pettigrew is the new CEO of the Chicago Housing Authority. Previously, he served as the director of the Washington, D.C. Housing Authority. He says he grew up in public housing and knows all too well the needs of residents. A group is currently suing CHA over Pettigrew's hiring, saying the board violated Open Meetings Act. This is the first time in about a year and a half the CHA has had a permanent leader to oversee its more than 65,000 low-income households. And come May 1st, as many as 150,000 Illinois households could lose SNAP benefits. We get more from WVON's Logan Page.
Around 150,000 Illinois households may lose federal food assistance beginning May 1st due to new eligibility and work requirements. The changes stem from a federal law that tightened rules for the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, also known as SNAP, including stricter work requirements and limits on benefits. Those who don't meet the requirements can only receive benefits for 3 months over a 3-year period before losing assistance. Advocates warn the cuts could significantly impact families already struggling to afford food. Logan Page, Our News Now, WVON 1690 AM.
That's a look at our news now on 1690 WVON. Traffic and weather up next. WVON News Time, 7:35.
Thank you, Barack and Michelle Obama, for bringing your gift to the world home to Chicago. The Obama Presidential Center, coming Juneteenth weekend. Witness a celebration of the power of hope and possibility. We're WVON.
WVON turned 63 years young in April, and we're celebrating all month long.
Well, look at that, look at that, look at that, look at that. Ooh,
Join us for WVON Night at the Black Ensemble Theater on Friday, April 24th. For the return of the award-winning play, The Jackie Wilson Story. This electrifying production will have you singing and dancing in the aisles as the Black Ensemble brings this musical legend to life. His voice, his moves, his music. It changed everything from Jackie Wilson's Lonely Teardrops to Higher and Higher. It's more than a musical. It's a theatrical experience. Join WVON's afternoon personalities, Atiwa Buchanan, and me, LaDonna Ray, as we host WVON Night at the Black Ensemble Theater, 4450 North Clark, Friday, April 24th.
Get your tickets now at blackensemble.org or click the Black Ensemble banner at WVON.com.
WVON is 63 and still having fun.
Hi, I'm Lori Smith, host of Meeting the Moment. WVON, in partnership with the Chicago Community Trust, developed Meeting the Moment to amplify the voices of nonprofits across Chicagoland, giving them the communication tools they need to expand their reach and turn awareness into action. Right now, our communities are facing real challenges, from economic uncertainty to public safety to access and equity. But in the middle of it all, there are organizations doing the work quietly, faithfully, powerfully. With Meeting the Moment, we'll have honest conversations about the issues shaping our region and, more importantly, the solutions happening on the ground. And each week, we'll feature a Chicagoland nonprofit making a difference. You'll hear their story and find out how you can support their work. Because Meeting the Moment is about more than just awareness. It's about impact. Join the Meeting the Moment movement, a program designed for the doers. For more information, visit WVON.com/Meeting the Moment. Listen every Saturday at 12 noon, right here on WVON 1690, the talk of Chicago. Let's meet the moment together. Powered by the Chicago Community Trust.
Have you checked out WVON's digital streaming network, Vaughn TV? It's everywhere on Roku, Apple TV Plus, Amazon Fire, on the WVON app, and at VON.TV. Vaughn TV, it's cultural content on purpose.
This is Khomaeini Khan, certified financial planner professional. For the past year, I've been on a mission to change lives and build wealth in our community. Together, we're changing the paradigm. This year, I'm back with a new series, Wealth Strategies, Money Talks. Join me every Tuesday at 8:30 a.m. on the Rufus Williams Show as we have thoughtful discussions around building wealth in our community. We'll discuss topics like investing, savings, tax strategies, retirement, and all things money. Yes, that's Tuesday at 8:30 a.m., so set those alarms. Also, be sure to check out the podcast at WVONwealthshow.com.
Khomaeini Khan is a certified financial planner professional with Optimal Planning Partners in alliance with Equitable Advisors LLC member SIPC in Oak Brook, Illinois. For more information, please call 630-575-5046.
This report is brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Don't let data limits hold you back from being the GIF master in the family group chat. Switch to Straight Talk Wireless and get Unreal Unlimited data on a reliable 5G network. Straight Talk, available at Walmart or straighttalk.com.
WVON traffic and weather now.
Travel times have ramped up across the board. We're going to start with the Bishop Ford. Now an 18-minute trip in from I-8094 to the Ryan. Heavy approaching the Stony Island Theater, then slow all the way in. Tuskegee Airmen Memorial, now a 20-minute trip in from I-80, heavy from 119th Street in. Once you arrive at the Ryan, you'll need another 31 minutes from 95th Street to downtown. DuSable Lakeshore Drive, things have picked up quite a bit and quickly. 67th Street to Jackson, now a 20-minute trip, heavy right around Hayes, then again just before Soldier Field. As you make your way from Hollywood to Monroe, expect a 15-minute trip, heavy right around Belmont. Turning to the Stevenson, now an hour plus from I-355 to DuSable Drive outbound, a 50-minute trip. The Eisenhower, about an hour 3. From Thorndale to the Burns Circle, outbound 50 as well. And the Kennedy, a 55-minute trip in from O'Hare to downtown. Getting to the airport, give yourself plenty of time. You'll need 50 minutes. Taking a look at our weather, we're seeing some clear skies. The National Weather Service says temps are expected to peak out in the mid to upper 70s today. Right now, we're climbing through the 50s. It's 53 in Midway, 53 in Fernwood, and 53 here at the Talk of Chicago. That's a look at traffic and weather now. I'm Annette Flournoy on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
If you're not out of the bed yet, then what are you waiting for? It's the WVON Morning Show with Rufus Williams on 1690 WVON.
Last night a DJ saved my life. Last night a DJ saved my life. Yeah. Cause I was sitting there bored to death, and then just one breath.
Welcome back. Man, Tyler, that's a good song. That's just a good song. Every now and then we have an opportunity to talk with Dr. Ige. This is one of those opportunities. Tyler, let's hear it.
Welcome to Ask Dr. Ige, brought to you by the Chicago Department of Public Health. Find valuable information and insights on public health issues at chicago.gov/CDPH.
Always happy to have my next guest join us, none other than Dr. Ige. She is the Commissioner of the Department of Public Health here in the city of Chicago. Dr. Ige, welcome back to WVON.
Hey, Rufus. Always good to be here. How you doing?
I am well. It's always good to have you. And I'm always glad to tell you that, because if I'm sick, then you've not done your job. And I know you're doing a great job. So we can't have that. Dr. Ige, let's talk about Black maternal health. This is Black Maternal Health Week. Tell us what the key issues are to highlight.
This time I am here to sell good tips. You know, sometimes people say you're doctors make money when people are sick. I am not one of those doctors. I am a preventative medicine specialist, and I am happiest when we avoid bad things, when we avoid sickness. And so the emphasis for me today is maternal health. Maternal health. How can mothers or birthing people who are Black in the city be healthy? And that's what I'm here to talk about. It is Black Maternal Health Week, and we have some nuggets for you. Now, I want to start with, we got a report from the Illinois Department of Public Health saying Black mothers are dying from pregnancy-related issues at a higher rate. I don't like to hear those things. And so, which is why I'm here. Now, what was striking to me is that 97% of pregnancy-related deaths were preventable if there had been adequate community, medical, or social support. That's why I'm here. Preventing the preventable, that is my thing. So if these deaths can be preventable, then I'm top of it. I am on top of it. Every single person needs to know how to prevent this. And it is not just the doctors, because the trick to surviving in this country is knowing how to navigate. So I want to highlight the resources available for Black women, birthing people, so that they know how to survive.
Thank you so much for that, Dr. Ige. Can you break down some of the key health issues that affect reproductive health for Black women here in the city?
Yes. My goal today is what I call health literacy. That means your ability to find information, your ability to understand information, and your ability to use that information to make informed health decisions so that you can have a safe and dignified birth and so that you can be alive to take care of your children. Now, the first thing I want you to know is, why are Black women dying? What are the reasons why they're dying? You cannot avoid something if you don't know what the threat is. Number one, substance use disorder. What is happening is that some people use substance to cope. Life is hard. Different things that people are using to cope. And then they get pregnant and they stop using because they are concerned about their baby. And then they have the baby and they think that they can go back to using those substances. But what happens is that your tolerance level has changed. You stop using to protect your baby and you go back to using, and people overdose and die. So it is happening at such a high rate postpartum that we want people to know that, please, these substances, and the biggest challenge is that people are using things that are adulterated. They don't know, they don't realize that this, Xanax and things that they're using are laced with fentanyl. That, oh, I'm taking heroin, I'm taking cocaine. It is all adulterated. We have seen animal tranquilizers, methamphetamine, all kinds of synthetic things being infused into different things. So that is one thing we want people to be aware of. Now, the other reason why Black women are dying at a higher rate is because of chronic illnesses, diabetes, heart disease, and chronic illnesses, and also mental health and suicide. Now, these issues, many people think about during labor. They think that that's when the deaths happen. Many of these things happen after the baby is born. Or more than 50% of the deaths that we're seeing in Chicago is happening after the baby is born, postpartum. And that's why I am here. Black women are going to the hospital and they're being treated for pregnancy complications. So the things that are happening during pregnancy that can lead to complications, hemorrhage and ectopic pregnancy, hypertension and diabetes, those can happen when you're still pregnant and during labor. I have talked about the things that happen after you have had the baby, and people don't realize that that is also a big driver. A lot of the mortality we're seeing is happening postpartum, but the complications during pregnancy to be aware of are also similar: diabetes, heart disease, but also bleeding. So if you're pregnant, it is important to know your numbers. Get into prenatal care early. That way they can check, oh, do you have diabetes? Do you have high blood pressure? Again, many of these diseases you don't know until you're tested. So getting in there early so that they can know if you have complications early, and they can help you to stay connected to specialist care if you need it for up to a year after your pregnancy. Even those who have substance use problems, they can get support. There is counseling. There is medication-assisted recovery that can help prevent overdosing. All of these options are available. So we don't want people to be stigmatized or ashamed, or I'm using this medication, I'm using this substance. There is help available. There is medication that can help you with that now. If you're having underlying health conditions like hypertension or diabetes or substance use disorder, make sure you let your provider know so that they can connect you to the specialist care that you need. I know that we have been stigmatized. I know that we're treated poorly. And so that makes us very reluctant to share when we go into the healthcare system. So I always encourage people to go with someone. We have patient advocates now. We have doulas. Somebody should be in the room with you to make you feel comfortable so that you can express yourself and say, this is what I'm dealing with, so that you can be connected to the right kind of care. If they don't know that we are carrying these things, they are not able to treat us for these things. And those are some of the things that we are seeing. So that is the first thing I want people to know. The things that are leading to complications and death are not often the things that people know or share. And we want people to be aware of those things.
Dr. Ige, some of what you talked about, and this is really fun, stunning. Ige, right after this.
More of the morning show with Rufus Williams coming up on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
Smart conversations with smart people makes us smarter. And that's exactly what you get on Bound and Woven with Rufus Williams. This isn't surface level talk. This is where authors become experts, where books become blueprints, and where ideas are challenged, not just discussed. From Colin Woodard on Nations Apart, to Gloria J. Brown Marshall breaking down the history of protests in America, to Gary Tyler sharing a story of resilience and redemption and stitching freedom. These are not interviews. These are conversations that matter, because every book has a story and every story has a deeper meaning. Bound and Woven with Rufus Williams on Bond TV. You can catch us on Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV Plus, the WVON app, and VON.TV.
Xfinity Tech Support, Matthew speaking.
Hi, I live in a pretty remote place, like Jurassic Park remote. No!
Wow.
Will Xfinity Mobile work out here?
Yep, the combination of reliable Wi-Fi and 5G makes it so that you can stay connected in all kinds of places. Plus, you get access to ultra-fast speeds and coverage, whether you're poolside or out live streaming with a T-Rex.
Hold still, you're about to go viral.
Welcome to a new era of Wi-Fi boosted mobile. Cut your mobile bill in half with 2 lines of unlimited. Learn more at xfinitymobile.com. Xfinity. Imagine that. Watch Jurassic Park with Xfinity. Restrictions apply. Xfinity Internet required. Savings comparison based on promotional rate for 2 lines of Xfinity Mobile Unlimited versus 2 lines of T-Mobile Experience More, Verizon Unlimited Plus, and AT&T Starter as of February 10th, 2026. Taxes, fees, extra.
It's D.L. Hughley.
Nick Cannon's logic is as weak as his program. Everybody fucking knew that Republicans freed the slaves. Everybody knew it. The last time they did something for black people was 163 years ago. You got to update your resume. Have a 5-year gap on your resume and see if it's valid. When Republicans did that, Hawaii wasn't a state. If you're going to talk about the greatest of a policy that helped black people out, it should at least be sometime after the fucking moon landing.
Weekdays at 5 a.m. on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON. Hey, Alexa, play WVON 1690 AM.
Getting WVON 1690 AM station from iHeartRadio.
Try it out for yourself. America is listening to WVON.
This is Rufus Williams, and I've got a major announcement coming Monday, April 27th. I'll give you a hint. Maybe not. Okay. If you insist, got luggage? We're WVON.
Beauty is more than style, it's a story, and now you get to hear it straight from the source. Solo Beauty Supply presents the Hair Tour radio show, coming to WVON Saturdays beginning May 2nd at 2 p.m. From Chicago to the West Coast, top salon owners pull back the curtain on the business, the culture, and the grind behind the chair. From building brands to shaping communities, this is where beauty meets boss moves. Tune in, tap in, and take notes. The Hair Tour radio show, Saturdays beginning May 2nd at 2 p.m. only on WVON.
This report is brought to you by Ashley Furniture. Ready for a home refresh? Now's the season to finally make it happen. At Ashley's Spring Savings Event 72-hour sale, save up to 25% on your entire purchase with select spring styles, starting at just $4.99 and only at Ashley's.
WVON traffic and weather now.
The inbound Ryan inching along at 32 minutes from 95th Street to downtown. Getting to the Ryan along the Bishop 4, still just about 18 minutes in from I-80-94. Tuskegee Airmen Memorial will take you 20 in from I-80. DuSable Lakeshore Drive, 67th Street to Jackson, pretty heavy, a 20-minute trip. Slow right around Hayes and again just before Soldier Field. As you make your way from Hollywood to Monroe, expect almost a 20-minute trip there. The Stevenson, a slow-moving hour 7 in from I-355 to DuSable Drive outbound, 50 minutes. The Eisenhower also over an hour from Thorndale to the Burn Circle. You want to factor in an accident at Independence. Traveling outbound along the Eisenhower, a 55-minute trip. The inbound Kennedy, 55 minutes from O'Hare to downtown. Getting to the airport, a slow-moving 52-minute trip. A warm-up is happening in our area. The National Weather Service says temperatures could creep well into the 70s today. Currently, we're creeping through the 50s. It's 54 at O'Hare, 54 in Inglewood, and 54 degrees here at the Talk of Chicago. That's a look at traffic and weather now. I'm Annette Flournoy on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
Keep your eyes on the road and both hands on the steering wheel. We will not be held responsible for any accidents. It's the WVON Morning Show with Rufus Williams on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
Back to my conversation with Dr. Ige.
So I always encourage people to go with someone. We have patient advocates now. We have doulas. Somebody should be in the room with you to make you feel comfortable so that you can express yourself and say, this is what I'm dealing with, so that you can be connected to the right kind of care. If they don't know that we are carrying these things, they are not able to treat us for these things. And those are some of the things that we are seeing. So that is the first thing I want people to know. The things that are leading to complications and death are not often the things that people know or share, and we want people to be aware of those things.
Dr. Ige, some of what you talked about, and this is really, I find stunning, the amount of issues that occur after the pregnancy is over. What is it that people should do? How do we prevent that? What is it? What's the best way to get around that?
Yes. Often, when you're faced with a threat, it is fight or flight. And many times people say, I don't like the healthcare system. I have been treated poorly. So my response is avoid going. Don't go into the healthcare system at all. And my encouragement to communities that have been underserved and have been treated poorly is that we acknowledge that the health systems have not always failed, but there are now providers out there that are culturally competent, and you can find people who will provide you, who will listen to you and provide you the kind of care that you need. The response is not that I will not go at all, because that leads to complications. So if you need help finding a provider or making an appointment, or even need help with transportation or finding a flexible appointment or schedule, I want you to call 211 to find support, or check our website, CDPH Nurturing You website. There will be folks who can point you to the right people, who will listen to you, who will help you navigate and get connected to resources. Remember that I started by saying I want you to be able to find resources and find help. There is help available, and we want you to know where to go to get that help, rather than staying away from seeking help at all.
Now, Dr. Ige, we've heard of this thing called EverThrive. Can you tell us what that is?
Yes. So EverThrive is a partner of CDPH that has developed a digital tool for Black birthing people. This document, I have reviewed it myself. It contains everything from what symptoms you need to look for in pregnancy to what your baby needs, etc. I want you to be able to download that resource. It's a digital resource. It's available on their website. It is a digital tool tailored to Black birthing people, so they know how to navigate. They know what resources are available. They know how to get to these resources.
Well, look, that is the epitome of cultural competency, when you can find it that direct to our population. So thank you so much for that. As always, you're doing great work there at the Chicago Department of Public Health, and we have a strong reliance on the work that you do. So tell us, are there any programs or resources that are available for Black mothers through CDPH?
Yes, indeed. We have more than 30 public health nurses available to do visits at home. We've talked about transportation challenges. We've talked about childcare challenges and some of the other barriers people have to overcome to get to care. Some people say we don't have a hospital in our community. It's too far away. So what we have done is a home visiting program. This home visiting program is run by public health nurses, and that is so that they can bring services to you. They can come to your home and do your blood pressure. They can check your urine. They can check for lead exposure in the home. They can check for domestic violence. They can check for anything that is a threat to you at home. So we want people to be aware. Every birthing person who gave birth in the birthing hospitals in Chicago is offered a home visitor. Many people say no, thank you. And we want people to understand why we provide this, so that, again, people don't have to go through the trouble of going to the hospital. We will come to you and help provide connection to the resources that we need. People who have postpartum depression sometimes don't even know. They just know that I don't feel like doing anything. I don't feel like going to the hospital. I am so tired. And people think, oh, it's because of the baby. It's because you're not sleeping well. It is normal. Our nurses can help do that screening and find out if you have postpartum depression and help you get connected to services. Our nurses can help you find out how to get diapers. People have babies with nappy rash because they don't have enough diapers. These are the things that we're able to provide. So when someone offers you a home visitor, a family connects home visitor, we want you to say yes. Our goal is simply to make sure mother and baby are doing well. It is free. It is available for all families. It is a little easier for parents with newborn in every Chicago to get the services they need because we come to you at no cost. Make sure you have everything you need to care for your family and your whole family at that, not just the baby. And so Family Connects, oneshyfam.org/Family Connects is where you can get information about all the things we do and all the resources available to you.
Great. Dr. Ige and the conversations that we have with her will be broadcast again. Is it this weekend?
Yes, this weekend at 2 p.m.
Catch it this weekend, Saturday at 2 p.m. In the meantime, let's find out from Annette what's going on in the news. When we come back, the clerk of the city court is here in the studio. We'll talk with her about what she has going on. We'll be back right after this.
More of the morning show with Rufus Williams coming up on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
Turning noticeably warmer as temperatures climb well into the 70s today. On this Tuesday, April 21st, 2026. I'm Annette Flournoy, and in the headlines, the Chicago Transit Authority is ending its contract for unarmed security guards on the transit system and replacing them with Chicago police officers. Lawmakers are making more moves to try and keep the Chicago Bears in Illinois. And if you're driving through downtown, heads up, the city's spring bridge lift begins this week along the Chicago River. National news from the Black Information Network is next on the iHeartRadio app and 1690 AM WVON Berwyn, Chicago. It's 8:01.
VIN News Now.
FBI Director Kash Patel says he's suing The Atlantic over a report alleging concerns about his behavior and alcohol use.
We are not going to take this laying down. You want to attack my character? Come at me. Bring it on. I'll see you in court.
Speaking on Fox's Sunday Morning Futures, Patel called the reporting fake news. Friends say the man accused of burning down a massive California warehouse had grown increasingly agitated about politics. Prosecutors say Shamil Abdul Karim filmed the fire, ranted about capitalist greed, and now faces state and federal charges. The 29-year-old says he didn't make a livable wage. And former Vice President Kamala Harris criticized President Trump this weekend, saying his war with Iran has weakened America. Speaking in Chicago, she also urged Democrats to focus on affordable child care, health care, and housing ahead of November. Get BIN News now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app. Back to Terry McCready.
Virginians heading to the polls today for a vote that could end up shifting the balance of power in Congress. If successful, the redistricting referendum would redraw the state's congressional maps and could give Democrats a 10-1 advantage in the upcoming midterms. Black Virginians are a consequential swath of Democratic political power. In the Commonwealth, Democrats say it's necessary because Republicans are doing the same in states like Texas. Black House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries issuing a call to action last year.
In Texas, this is a racial, partisan gerrymander ordered by Donald Trump as part of an effort to rig the midterm elections. And we're not going to let it happen.
But Republicans say this is different because Democrats are trying to amend Virginia's constitution. The group behind the effort has outspent the opposition $64 million to $19 million. White House officials say President Trump is not expected to extend a ceasefire deadline beyond tomorrow when it expires. And Tehran is apparently sending negotiators to Pakistan for the talks. This as the U.S. and Iran are apparently moving ahead with peace talks today.
When the agreement is signed, the blockade ends.
Soon as the agreement gets signed, that's when the blockade ends.
The president standing firm on the issue days ago. He's warning that if Iran does not make a deal, U.S. airstrikes would begin targeting its bridges and power plants. A Louisiana bill would require college students to repay their TOPS scholarship money if they drop out or lose eligibility. TOPS stands for Taylor Opportunity Program for Students. The bill would apply to students graduating from high school during or after the 2025-2026 school year. Students could lose scholarship eligibility if they fail to maintain a cumulative GPA of at least 2.3 for TOPS opportunity and a 3.0 for TOPS performance. That means even if you wanted to course correct after a bad semester, you're obligated to repay the scholarship. The bill has cleared a House committee and now is up for a full House debate. Dr. Denise Jones-Gregory is Jackson State University's new president. This after serving as the historically Black college and university's interim president since last year. Gregory is the school's 14th president. She was appointed by the Mississippi Board of Trustees of State Institutions of Higher Learning and selected from a pool of 79 candidates. Gregory brings an optimistic perspective to the university, which has cycled through various presidents since 2016, including William Bynum, Thomas Hudson, and Marcus Thompson. Stay informed, stay connected, and subscribe. Follow VIN News this hour wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Terry McCready for the Black Information Network.
This report is brought to you by Ashley Furniture. Ready for a home refresh? Now's the season to finally make it happen. At Ashley's Spring Savings Event 72-hour sale, save up to 25% on your entire purchase with select spring styles, starting at just $4.99 and only at Ashley's.
Illinois politicians did it again. They secretly tucked bad policy into the budget. Now, guess who pays the price? Servers, drivers, stylists, workers who depend on tips. Unless Springfield fixes this mistake, your credit and debit cards may not work to pay sales tax or tips starting July 1st. Tell Springfield, stop the credit card chaos law. Learn more at guardyourcard.com/Illinois. Paid for by the Electronic Payments Coalition.
Secure the rate, love the return. Hi, I'm Harry Malone, Vice President and Community President of United Fidelity Bank. At United Fidelity Bank, we make it easier than ever to start growing your money with confidence. Right now, you can take advantage of our high-yield CDs, including our 6-month term, currently paying 4.20% annual percentage yield. It's a competitive rate designed to help your savings work harder from day one. And when you bank with us, you're choosing more than a great rate. You're choosing a team that believes in personal service, relationships, and financial solutions tailored to your goals. We're not a big box bank. We're your local partner committed to delivering the experience you need and the service you deserve. Stop by and see me or my team to open your high-yield United Fidelity Bank CD at our Chicago flagship branch at 1701 West 87th Street. Details at unitedfidelity.com.
Rates are subject to change at any time. CDs renew automatically to a standard rate in effect at the time of renewal unless instructed otherwise. Member FDIC.
Drummer composer Mike Reed explores the legacy of Chicago bassist Fred Hopkins with new works on May 1st at Symphony Center, performed by a powerhouse ensemble of fellow Chicago improvisers. The program reflects Hopkins' deep influence on avant-garde jazz. Saxophonist Jeff Bradfield and talented high school jazz musicians opened the concert with a selection of music composed by Reed. More at cso.org/jazz. That's cso.org/jazz.
This spring, August Wilson's Ma Rainey's Black Bottom comes to the Goodman. It's 1927 Chicago. Ma Rainey, the mother of the blues, and her band are recording an album, but tensions build to one of the most heart-stopping endings in theater. Ife Butler stars, with Chuck Smith and Harry J. Lennox directing the play called A Genuine American Masterpiece. Ma Rainey's Black Bottom is extended through May 3rd. Tickets at goodmantheater.org.
It's the afternoon show with Atiba Buchanan and LaDonna Ray.
Congressman Jonathan Jackson on the line.
I saw a meme that said America will come and get you. When it's about the oil, they bombed in Iran, they've got oil. They bombed in Iraq, they've got oil. They bombed in Libya, they've got oil. and now they bombed in Venezuela. They've got oil, and they even came after Diddy because he had oil.
Come on, Congressman. What a great setup. That was good. That was good.
It's the afternoon show with Atiba Buchanan and LaDonna Ray. Weekdays at 3 p.m. on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
This report is brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Every now and then, you find a deal that actually feels like a win. With Straight Talk Wireless, you get more and pay less. Now, that's a good deal. No contracts, no credit checks, no surprises, all on Verizon's 5G network. Find it in the same place you've always found straightforward prices, exclusively at Walmart and straighttalk.com.
WVON traffic and weather now.
Calm as you're sitting in traffic. We're looking at long travel times across the board. The Ryan just bumped up to 33 minutes from 95th Street into downtown as you make your way along the Bishop Ford. Now a 20-minute trip in from I-80-94. Tuskegee Airmen Memorial, also 20 in from I-80. DuSable Lakeshore Drive, that's a 20-minute trip from 67th Street to Jackson. Hollywood to Monroe, bumped up to 22 minutes. If you're on the Stevenson, a slow-moving hour 7 from I-355 to DuSable Drive, 50 traveling out. The Eisenhower inching along at an hour 20 in from Thorndale to the Burns Circle. You want to factor in a new disabled vehicle blocking the left lane at Morgan. Outbound along the Eisenhower, 50 minutes. The Kennedy in from O'Hare, a 55-minute trip from O'Hare to downtown. Getting to the airport now bumped up to 53 minutes. Taking a look at our weather, good news. Temperatures are expected to climb well into the 70s today. The National Weather Service says right now we're looking in the 50s. We just bumped up to 55 at Midway. It's 55 in Blue Island and 55 degrees here at the Talk of Chicago. That's a look at traffic and weather now. I'm in Flournoy on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
Chicago's essential storyteller is celebrating its birthday. WVON is more than a radio station. It's been Black Chicago's cultural hub, 6 decades strong and counting.
WVON is proud to be an official radio partner for the Chicago Blues Festival, June 4th through the 7th at Millennium Park. We're bringing generations together, one blues riff at a time.
We gon' keep your wang dang through the low night long.
Live from the Xfinity Studios, it's the station that America listens to. WVON, Berwyn, Chicago. It's Rufus Williams on Chicago's essential storyteller, WVON.
You wonder how we do it. It's just one simple rule. I'm just cool. Honey, baby, can't you see? Girl, I'm so cool. Ain't nobody bad like me. Hey. R-U-F-U-S. What's that spell? R-U-F-U-S. I'm just cool. Honey, baby, can't you see? Girl, I'm so cool. Ain't nobody bad like me. Sing it, baby. R-U-F-U-S. What's that stand? R-U-F-U-S. That spell cool. The audio genius. The audio genius. The audio genius.
Welcome back. You don't want to miss WVON night at the Black Ensemble Theater. It's happening on Friday, May 24th. And I will tell you, you need to act because the tickets are moving fast. Remember last weekend, it was Regina Bell. Many of you didn't get to see her because you waited. This award-winning Jackie Wilson story is back. And believe you me, the show will have you on your feet. You will be singing, dancing, living your absolute best life. This is the kind of night that people talk about all summer. And our very own Atiba Buchanan and LaDonna Ray will be the hosts. So don't wait. Get your tickets now at blackensembletheater.org or click the Black Ensemble banner at WVON.com. WVON, we're 63 and we're still having fun. Speaking of fun, I have in the studio with me this morning our very own Cook County Clerk of the Circuit Court, Khomaeini Spyropolis. Welcome back to WVON.
Thank you so much, Rufus. Thanks for having me.
You know, it's always good to talk to you because I always know you're coming in the studio. I've never talked to you on the phone.
I'm happy to come and
have no idea what your
spend time
telephone
with you.
Have no idea what your telephone voice sounds like. But I know what it's like for in person. You've got a big event coming up. We like Amnesty. Tell us about what you're doing.
Yes, we do. So this is becoming a habit for us. This is the
It's a good
second
habit.
time. Yes, it's the second time we've done this. Amnesty Week is from April 27th through May 1st. And what it means is if you've had a moving violation, and this does not include parking tickets, it does not include red light camera tickets, but everything else. So for example, things like driving through a stop sign, DUIs, driving without a seatbelt, driving without a license. These types of tickets, let's say you haven't paid it in 90 days, it's going to go to collections and they have a 30% fine attached to it. For this 1 week, we're taking away the 30% fine that would be attached to it. So you're just paying for the ticket. And if you have multiple tickets, it can really add up, the fines as well as the fees. So please take advantage of it for 1 week, April 27th through May 1st.
Okay, this is important and interesting to understand. I don't get tickets for running through red lights or stop signs. I get tickets for speeding and I get tickets for parking.
So you would be eligible for this. The parking part would not be us, but the speeding would be.
Really?
Yes. So each municipality takes care of its own parking tickets. So City of Chicago would be responsible. You'd go to City of Chicago for that. But for the speeding part, you would come to us for that.
Well, that's interesting.
Yes, it is.
Who knew this?
Now you know. Now everybody knows.
Now I know.
Yes.
And it's interesting. And look, people, if you haven't checked your record, it's important to check it to know what tickets are there.
Right.
I got a parking ticket last week or the week before. I have learned that if you don't pay those within 42 days, they double. And the clock begins when you get the ticket.
Right.
So after having two that I was right, I was not wrong about, I was right. So I protested them. I lost. I shouldn't have lost, but and then I saw something else that said I could still appeal. But then when I looked close, it was really, you really couldn't. And so I went to pay them and they had doubled. And so
That's tough.
all I could do was be mad at the clerk, but then it wasn't her fault. So I wasn't mad at her. I was mad at the system.
Right.
But I also was learned from the system. So this time when I got a parking ticket, I paid it immediately.
Good. That's
last
always,
week.
if you can, that's always a
If
better
you can
approach.
do
Yes.
it now, at least get on the payment plan, but take care of it right away. So I went on to pay it. And to my surprise, there was another ticket there for speeding
See?
that I didn't even know I had.
There you go.
So it's important to check the record and see what you have. And particularly given that this is amnesty time, because people may have tickets that are there
And they
for
don't
more
know.
than 90 days that they don't even
Exactly.
know about.
Yep.
And this would be the right time to take care of them.
And you can pay it a few ways. You can come into our offices, either at the Daily Center, or you can go to any of the suburban courthouses, Markham, Bridgeview, Maywood, Skokie, or Rolling Meadows. You can go in person, or you can call us at 312-603-5030. That's our call center, and our staff will walk you through the process, and you can pay online that way.
You can pay online.
Yes.
Okay. So
Not through our website, but you have to make a call, and they will walk you through the phone call process.
got it. So got it. Okay. So you can pay fines and tickets. What else can you pay during amnesty?
So
amnesty
any
period?
moving violation that would be through our traffic division. And so, as I mentioned, some examples, there's multiple violations that you can take care of. But if you are not sure, like you discovered that you had another ticket, you can also call the call center at 312-603-5030. And if you give them your driver's license, they can walk you through the process and see what tickets you might have. So there may be things that you forgot about. We're all really busy. And then hopefully you can take care of it that way as well.
Now, this is not the first time that you've done this.
This is the second year we're doing it. So we've gotten a good response. It gives people an opportunity to take care of your tickets. You don't want those kind of things to go to collections. It has fines and fees. You let it go. It goes on your credit history. It could prevent you from getting loans or a credit card in the future. So take care of it now. 1 week of amnesty, no 30% fines attached to your tickets.
Great. Loans. It also can stop you from getting a job, particularly with the city, if you have these kind of bills due to them, even if you don't know them. So this is a wonderful opportunity to take care of that.
And you can pay partially as well. You don't have to take care of everything. If you want to make a payment towards what you owe, it's a good start.
When you pay partially, do you set up a plan to pay partially, or do you just pay this and then?
Yes. Yeah.
Pay
The
the
staff
rest
will
whenever.
walk you through what you need to do. But, even starting the process, I think for a lot of people, is an incentive, is you feel like you're starting to move towards that direction of taking care of your bills.
Great. It's some relief. It's not getting gas prices down, but it's taking care of something within reducing the cost of living here. Clerk Spyropolis is the Amnesty Program. We'll be back more with her right after this.
More of the morning show with Rufus Williams coming up on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
WVON turned 63 years young in April, and we're celebrating all month long.
Well, look at that, look at that, look at that, look at that. Ooh,
Join us for WVON Night at the Black Ensemble Theater on Friday, April 24th for the return of the award-winning play, The Jackie Wilson Story. This electrifying production will have you singing and dancing in the aisles as the Black Ensemble brings this musical legend to life. His voice, his moves, his music, it changed everything from Jackie Wilson's Lonely Teardrops to Higher and Higher. It's more than a musical. It's a theatrical experience. Join the afternoon show's personalities, that'd be me, Atiba Buchanan, and LaDonna Ray, as we host WVON Night at the Black Ensemble Theater, 4450 North Clark, Friday, April 24th.
Get your tickets now at blackensembletheater.org or click the Black Ensemble banner at WVON.com.
WVON is 63 and still having fun.
Tuned in to your favorite WVON personalities on Facebook Live? Don't just watch, like it, love it, share it. Every click helps us grow the conversation and keep the community strong. So remember, like it, love it, share it, Chicago.
Smart conversations with smart people makes us smarter. And that's exactly what you get on Bound and Woven with Rufus Williams. This isn't surface level talk. This is where authors become experts, where books become blueprints, and where ideas are challenged, not just discussed. From Colin Woodard on Nations Apart, to Gloria J. Brown Marshall breaking down the history of protests in America, to Gary Tyler sharing a story of resilience and redemption and stitching freedom. These are not interviews. These are conversations that matter, because every book has a story and every story has a deeper meaning. Bound and Woven with Rufus Williams on Bond TV. You can catch us on Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV+, the WVON app, and VON.TV.
Chronic migraine, 15 or more headache days a month, each lasting 4 hours or more, can make me feel like a spectator in my own life.
Botox, onabotulinum toxin A, prevents headaches in adults with chronic migraine. It's not for those with 14 or fewer headache days a month. It's the #1 prescribed branded chronic migraine preventive treatment.
Prescription Botox is injected by your doctor. Effects of Botox may spread hours to weeks after injection, causing serious symptoms. Alert your doctor right away, as difficulty swallowing, speaking, breathing, eye problems, or muscle weakness can be signs of a life-threatening condition. Patients with these conditions before injection are at highest risk. Side effects may include allergic reactions, neck and injection site pain, fatigue, and headache. Allergic reactions can include rash, welts, asthma symptoms, and dizziness. Don't receive Botox if there's a skin infection. Tell your doctor your medical history, muscle or nerve conditions, including ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease, myasthenia gravis, or Lambert-Eaton syndrome, and medications, including botulinum toxins, as these may increase the risk of serious side effects.
Why wait? Ask your doctor, visit BotoxChronicMigraine.com, or call 1-800-44-BOTOX to learn more.
Hey, it's Cleopatra Draper. Join me for the Midday Show, weekdays at 9 a.m., where we'll sip and spill all the tea. Do you want it hot or cold? Either way, we're serving up the flavor of the day. Weekdays at 9 a.m. right here on the station giving you what's now and what's next. 1690 WVON.
This report is brought to you by Ashley Furniture. Ready for a home refresh? Now's the season to finally make it happen. At Ashley's Spring Savings Event 72-hour sale, save up to 25% on your entire purchase with select spring styles, starting at just $4.99 and only at Ashley's.
Catch Reverend Al Sharpton online at WVON.com or on the WVON app. Just click the Al Sharpton banner. Tune in every day at 12 noon for your daily dose. And if you miss it, catch the overnight replay from midnight to 3 a.m. We're keeping it real with Al Sharpton on WVON 1690.
Reverend Al told you personally, keep it real. Keep it real. Keep it real.
You're invited to the Chesterfield Community Council's Greater Chatham Communities Home Expo. Join us Saturday, April 25th from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Thule Park, 90th and King Drive. This exciting community event will connect residents with valuable resources and experts to help strengthen and invest in our homes and neighborhoods. What you'll find at the expo: home improvement programs, property tax relief information, resources for home buyers, utility assistance programs, dynamic educational seminars, opportunities to connect with contractors, and so much more. Whether you're a current homeowner, planning to buy, or looking for ways to improve your property, this event is designed with you in mind. Don't miss it. Please join us on Saturday, April 25th from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Thule Park, 90th and King Drive. We look forward to seeing you there. Sponsored in part by Neighborhood Housing Services, ComEd, Providence Bank, Seaway Self-Help, and State Farm Insurance, Don Hines.
This report is sponsored by Ashley Furniture. Ashley's Spring Savings Event is happening now. Find inspiring looks at unbeatable prices with select styles starting at $4.99. Plus, save $100 for every $1,000 you spend and get free white glove delivery with select mattress purchases. Only at Ashley.
WVON traffic and weather now.
We're focusing in on the Orion right now. We're following a disabled vehicle is blocking the left lane on the outbound side of the Orion at 87th Street. Not a major big deal because traffic is light traveling out. However, there is a report of a new accident on the inbound Orion at Pershing Road. Right now, your inbound travel time from 95th Street to downtown is about 33 minutes. We expect that travel time to increase. Taking a look at your weather, the National Weather Service says temperatures are climbing well into the 70s today. We're up to 56 at Midway, now 56 in Blue Island, and 56 degrees here at the Talk of Chicago. That's a look at traffic and weather now. I'm Annette Lenoy on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
Hey, Alexa, play WVON 1690 AM.
Getting WVON 1690 AM station from iHeartRadio.
Try it out for yourself. America is listening to WVON. Now back to the morning show with Rufus Williams on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
Don't know everything, but there's something I do know. I know. I've read and heard it, and I
Welcome back. Still in the studio with me, the clerk of the circuit court, Mariana Spyropolis. First, let's revisit Amnesty. Tell people again where, how, when.
Okay, so Amnesty Week is from April 27th through May 1st. And it means that if you have a moving violation, such as driving through a stop sign, speeding, driving without a seatbelt on, those are just some examples. You haven't paid your fine for those tickets. We're going to waive the 30% that's attached to that, and you just need to pay the fine for the ticket itself. So, for example, you got a $100 ticket. If you don't pay it within 90 days, you get a 30% fine attached to that. So it's a lot more money. We take the 30% off. You just need to pay the $100 or whatever the fine is for your ticket. And if you have multiple tickets, the staff can help you. You can come in person to the Daily Center or any of our suburban courthouses, or you can call us at 312-603-5030, and the staff will walk you through the process. They can also check to see if you have any other tickets, and you can pay online through the staff, and they'll instruct you what the steps are.
Good and important stuff. Now, during the break, we talked about some other things that are really troubling
Mm-hmm.
in this environment that you will learn about. Talk about these scams that are happening.
So we are seeing, we're living in a world where, unfortunately, there are some bad actors and people who want to take advantage of individuals, particularly through the internet, through emails. And we have to be proactive. We have to be cautious, and we have to verify anything that comes through any kind of email. So what is happening now is people are getting text alerts that are fraudulent, basically. And it looks like a court document. I mean, I deal with court documents every day. I know that these are not valid, but for someone who doesn't deal with the court system, it looks like it could be legit. It has, the name of a fake judge. It has the name of fake clerk. It has a QR code. It has a link. So it wants you to show up in court. So they basically are trying to scare people to click on the link or to download the QR code to send in a payment. Please verify that information first. If you think, well, maybe there was a ticket that I had, maybe this is attached to that, please go to our website or call us at our call center, and our staff will check for you whether you have an outstanding ticket. But don't download the QR code. Don't click on the link. We don't send those types of alerts to people. But don't give your information and don't pay online for these types of things. And unfortunately, they're going to continue. We've gotten several of these fraudulent alerts, and they're probably going to become more and more sophisticated, which is why I caution your listeners to always verify, always double check these types of things to make sure that you're not giving, your valuable information away.
Yeah, it's a hesitancy every time. It should be for anybody who's giving any information
Absolutely.
in any way. Even many of us will be on, I don't know, Facebook, and something come up to buy something.
Right.
I hesitate there because I don't want to just give people my information, because you never know where it's going, and once it's gone, it's gone. So
right.
The idea for you, the idea for anything, all these scams that are out there, is really to verify before you send any information anywhere.
Yes, absolutely. Just, and it's easy. Just go to our website, cookcountyclerk.org, or call our call center, 312-603-5030. The staff will walk you through to help you if you think that you might have a ticket. But these fraudulent alerts that are coming on your phone are not from us. So please don't fall for the scam.
Every now and then, government works for us. This is one of the ways in which it's doing it. Thank you so much for what you're doing, and thanks for coming in and telling us. And thanks for having Amnesty Week, importantly.
Thank you, Rufus.
Even more importantly, we appreciate
it.
Let's find out from Annette what's going on in the news. When we come back, it's Tuesday, which means it's time for our Wealth Strategies with Khomaeini Khan. We'll be back right after this.
What a difference a day makes. Temps are expected to climb into the 70s today. I'm in Flournoy, and here's what's happening. This could be a huge week in Springfield as lawmakers are set to make some serious moves towards keeping the Chicago Bears in Illinois. Perry Williams has more.
A vote on a stadium bill is expected tomorrow. State Representative LaShawn Ford says if Arlington Heights becomes the home of the new sports venue, Chicago should not be forgotten.
That means that property, Soldier Field, there should be some type of support for what happens at that spot.
The state of Indiana has already passed legislation to lure the Bears across state lines. I'm Perry Williams.
The Chicago Transit Authority is ending its contract for unarmed security guards and on the transit system. Now, the union that represents the guards said the CTA laid off more than 150 of their people. The CTA said the funding will now be directed to sworn Chicago police officers and other security resources. The moves comes after the Trump administration ordered the agency to improve safety for riders following several vicious crimes on the CTA. Well, Keith Pettigrew is the new CEO of the Chicago Housing Authority. Previously, he served as the director of the Washington, D.C. Housing Authority. He says he grew up in public housing and knows all too well the needs of residents. A group is currently suing CHA over Pettigrew's hiring, saying the board violated Open Meetings Act. This is the first time in a year and a half the CHA has had a permanent leader to oversee its more than 65,000 low-income households. Well, that's a look at our news now on 1690 WVON. Traffic and weather up next. WVO News Time, 8:33.
I was having a medical procedure, and I wanted to ensure my kids would get my home should something happen to me. I called attorney Ted London. He provided the land, trust, and power of attorney. Now my kids will not have to go through the probate process.
After the death of my husband, I had to get my affairs in order. I called attorney Ted London. Now my family and home will not have to go through the probate process. When you need your estate plans, attorney London.
773-721-3333.
Hi, this is Jill Ross, creator and producer of the Chicago Read-In. I'm excited to join WVON for this cultural experience that is designed to excite and stimulate the minds of young people ages 6 to 16. Join us Saturday, April 25th at the Harold Washington Cultural Center, 4701 South King Drive at 12 noon for an amazing show that will keep young people and their parents on the edges of their seats. From dance to music to mime to art to rich creative storytelling, there is literally no program like the one we've put together that offers a cultural lens while igniting the minds of young people. The Chicago Read-In is free, but you must register at Eventbrite or WVON.com. We'll see you Saturday, April 25th. The Chicago Read-In is produced in conjunction with Vaughn TV's series Turn the Page, which premieres this summer.
Hi, I'm Lori Smith, host of Meeting the Moment. WVON, in partnership with the Chicago Community Trust, developed Meeting the Moment to amplify the voices of nonprofits across Chicagoland, giving them the communication tools they need to expand their reach and turn awareness into action. Right now, our communities are facing real challenges, from economic uncertainty to public safety to access and equity. But in the middle of it all, there are organizations doing the work quietly, faithfully, powerfully. With Meeting the Moment, we'll have honest conversations about the issues shaping our region and, more importantly, the solutions happening on the ground. And each week, we'll feature a Chicagoland nonprofit making a difference. You'll hear their story and find out how you can support their work. Because Meeting the Moment is about more than just awareness. It's about impact. Join the Meeting the Moment movement, a program designed for the doers. For more information, visit WVON.com/Meeting the Moment. Listen every Saturday at 12 noon, right here on WVON 1690, the talk of Chicago. Let's meet the moment together. Powered by the Chicago Community Trust.
Chronic migraine, 15 or more headache days a month, each lasting 4 hours or more, can make me feel like a spectator in my own life.
Botox, onabotulinum toxin A, prevents headaches in adults with chronic migraine. It's not for those with 14 or fewer headache days a month. It's the #1 prescribed branded chronic migraine preventive treatment.
Prescription Botox is injected by your doctor. Effects of Botox may spread hours to weeks after injection, causing serious symptoms. Alert your doctor right away, as difficulty swallowing, speaking, breathing, eye problems, or muscle weakness can be signs of a life-threatening condition. Patients with these conditions before injection are at highest risk. Side effects may include allergic reactions, neck and injection site pain, fatigue, and headache. Allergic reactions can include rash, welts, asthma symptoms, and dizziness. Don't receive Botox if there's a skin infection. Tell your doctor your medical history, muscle or nerve conditions, including ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease, myasthenia gravis, or Lambert-Eaton syndrome, and medications, including botulinum toxins, as these may increase the risk of serious side effects.
Why wait? Ask your doctor, visit BotoxChronicMigraine.com, or call 1-800-44-BOTOX to learn more.
Hi, I'm Tavis Smiley, inviting you to join me weekdays from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. right here on WVON. I am bringing you a national perspective on all the happenings in the Black community and, of course, politics. It's talk radio for us, by us, and this is where America listens.
It's Tavis Smiley, weekdays from 6 to 9 p.m. on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
This report is brought to you by Ashley Furniture. Ready for a home refresh? Now's the season to finally make it happen. At Ashley's Spring Savings Event 72-hour sale, save up to 25% on your entire purchase with select spring styles, starting at just $4.99 and only at Ashley's.
WVON traffic and weather now.
Still looking at some really high travel times across the board as you make your way on the Ryan, a 30-minute trip from 95th Street into downtown. The inbound side of the Bishop Ford, a 20-minute trip in now from I-80-94 to the Ryan, heavy from 111th Street all the way in. Tuskegee Airmen Memorial, 21 minutes in from I-80, stop and go from 119th Street in. Turning to DeSable Lakeshore Drive, now bumped up to a 21-minute trip from 67th Street to Jackson. Hollywood to Monroe, a slow-moving 24-minute trip, pretty much stop and go from Lawrence to North Avenue. Inbound Stevenson right now from I-355 to DuSable Drive, just over an hour. Outbound 50 minutes. The inbound side of the Eisenhower, we're seeing an improvement, but still extremely heavy at an hour 15. From Thorndale to the Burns Circle, give yourself 55 minutes traveling out. And as you make your way along the Kennedy, that's a 55-minute trip still. And from O'Hare to downtown to the airport, inching along at 53 minutes. Taking a look at our weather. Temperatures are warming up nicely. The National Weather Service says we're looking at highs well into the 70s. They just bumped us up to a possible 77. Right now it's 57 at Midway, 57 in Woodlawn, and 57 degrees here at the Talk of Chicago. That's a look at traffic and weather now. I'm Annette Flournoy on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
The following is paid programming. The views are not necessarily those of this station. It's time for the Wealth Strategy Show with Khomaeini Khan, powered by Optimal Planning Partners.
Khomaeini Khan, certified financial planner professional, offers securities through Equitable Advisors, LLC, New York, New York, 212-314-4600. Member FINRA, SIPC, Equitable Financial Advisors in Michigan and Tennessee. Annuity and insurance products offered through Equitable Network, LLC, and does not provide tax or legal advice. Individuals may transact business and or respond to inquiries only in states in which they are properly registered and or licensed. This informational and educational radio segment does not offer or constitute and should not be relied upon as financial business or tax advice.
Trying to believe God, trying to watch the words in my mouth and stay on the ride. Trouble come and go, even on the mountain high, on the valley low. Never let your faith go. Oh, never let your faith go. I've been there before, so confused, don't know which way to go. Stressed out, world so crazy, might as well stay in the house. Fear trying to rise up, got terrorists disguised. They look like us, but we know who we trust. Just when I say that we gon' be alright. We gon' be alright. Tell them, we gon' be alright. Alright. Say we gon' be alright.
Welcome back. It is Tuesday. It is 8:30-ish, which means it's time for Wealth Strategies with my main man, Khomaeini Khan. Khomeini, again, we talk about this, and I've done a number of shows outside of just talking with you about money, about wealth, about whatever. Why do you think it's important to have this on WVON?
Thank you for that, Rufus. And first, want to say good morning to you and the crew. You know, it's great to be back in the studio. A nice day outside for a change. Welcome to the listeners for your Tuesday check-in with your money. Definitely appreciate everybody being here. So, you know, it's important, Rufus, that we continue to have these conversations week after week as we talk about building wealth for ourselves and our families. You know, it's so important because, you know, we need to explore different strategies, different ideas around building wealth, everything from investing, saving, building businesses, home ownership. You know, we got to be able to just continue to talk about these topics because the more that we talk about them, the more likely we are to do them. And the more likely you are to hear something you haven't heard before and say, hey, maybe that's something I can try. Maybe that's something I can do to be able to begin to build wealth for me and my family. And so we're going to talk about a different topic every week, of course, as you know. We're going to do a deep dive and we're going to get into it, you know, and the whole purpose is to be able to share ideas and strategies so we can put these to the test ourselves. You know, I've been doing this for a long time, Rufus, and so just want to be able to share some of the knowledge that I have with the listeners so they can be able to start to build wealth for themselves and their families.
Great, and we keep doing it. Something's going to stick. Something's going to be relevant. People are going to get something that they can really use out of these conversations, and we know that to be true. Now, we're not doing couple counseling, but this is getting kind of close to it. But tell us what the financial tip of the week is.
Yeah, our financial tip of the week, and I'm really excited about this topic, Rufus. I've never done this topic before, at least not on air, is strategies for managing your money as a couple or just in a relationship. You know, I get a lot of people who come to me, particularly couples who are really trying to, you know, maybe they just recently married, maybe they're considering getting together, whatever the case may be, but they want to know, you know, how can we begin to plan together financially and do it successfully, because it's hard enough to plan on your own, right? But when you add another person into the mix, it can make things a little bit more complicated. And so there are some strategies that I want to be able to share with listeners. And I'm actually going to share about 8 different strategies for people to consider as it relates to starting to plan together financially. But one thing that we do know, Rufus, and any couple can attest to, one of the largest stressors when it comes to relationships is money and money management. And so just being able to kind of proactively think through this and do some of these strategies might go a long way to kind of making things a little bit easier for couples financially.
Lauren Hill says, it's funny how money changes situations.
Money can definitely change the situation, good or bad. And so hopefully some of these things can affect people in a positive way.
Yeah, but it does impact it somehow. Well, you said 8. There must be some magic to the number 8. You'll tell us what that is. Maybe, I don't know. But what's the first strategy you'd like for couples to consider?
So the first thing I want to tell couples to consider, and many of us kind of know this, just kind of know it. We got to have open communication. Right? We got to have open communication around our money. We got to be able to discuss our financial habits and our financial goals. And so, when we come together as a couple, one of the things that we want to be able to do is let's talk about our money habits, right? Let's talk about how do we save? How do we spend? Because everybody has a different strategy. When I'm talking with clients and we're talking about financial planning, one of the first things I ask them is, how do you save? How do you spend? People say, well, what does that mean? Well, you get paid. And then what happens, right? Where does that money go? Does it go into a checking account? Does it go onto a card? Do you pay your bills first? Do you put money in savings? Is it something going to 401k? How do you save? How do you spend? You need to have that conversation as a couple because, people are different in how they do things. And so making sure you have an understanding of how your partner saves and spend goes a long way. And then what we will find, most people can probably attest to in relationships, many times you have a spender and you have a saver, because those opposites attract. If you got 2 spenders, you might have some challenges, right? But typically you will find one spender, one saver. And if you can have that open communication, it can work out because you can have some balance. And so having a discussion around those habits are important. Having some shared goals is important. What type of things do you want to do together? Buying a house, travel, things like that. And just being transparent, right? You can't be secretive about your money if it's going to work. If it's just you, it's no big deal. But when you're talking about 2 people and you can't be hiding things from a financial perspective. So be open about your income, be open about your debts, be open about your financial obligations, because you need to know that you're both getting into this thing together. Once you marry, you're married into the investments, you're also married into the debts. And so you want to be transparent about that.
Yeah, there's that hesitancy when you're putting your name on somebody else's stuff because you don't know what that is. So it's got to be something and somebody that you trust. I mentioned Lauren Hill. It's funny how money changes situations. And the next line is miscommunication leads to complications. So
Absolutely.
Number 1, open communication is key. What's the second strategy?
So the next thing we want to do is we want to be able to start to begin to set up a joint financial plan. And so now this is about trying to come together. How do we come together? Let's think about joint financial planning. Like I said, it's always a good idea to start financial planning just in general. But once you can come together and do it, it really can make a big impact. So think about, really assessing your finances, looking at what you have, being able to calculate that combined income. What's your combined expenses? So if you're making together, $100,000, you got $50,000 of expenses. Now we could talk about what kind of options we have so far as, maybe cutting costs or improving our savings, but you have to know what you have and what you're working with. That's the first step. And then you got to think about, what kind of financial roles do we want to play in the relationship? Who's going to be the person who pay the bills? Is it going to be one person? Is it going to be both of us? Who's going to be responsible for what? So that's a very important aspect, just making sure that those roles and responsibilities are defined, and being able to share those responsibilities are also very important, as opposed to just putting it all on one person, because many times if it's just on one person, sometimes it can breed resentment. And so we want to have some conversation and some openness around the best way that we plan together, and then set priorities, right? What are our priorities? Do we want to start to build this emergency fund together? Do we want to start tackling debt? Do we want to start to save and invest. So just thinking about those goals, establishing those goals, and working together. That really goes a long way so far. It's just being able to start that planning together.
So there's a reason you haven't taken this up before, because there's so many things that come in here. And there's so many dichotomies in the process because we don't make the same amount of money.
Yeah.
Right. Somebody makes more, somebody makes less. Maybe there's a big difference. And these are things that have to be understood what this means. Maybe there's an agreement that comes into the relationship as well. So we talk about things from there, but we need to figure out what our lifestyle is going to be and how we're going to afford it and who's going to make sure that all those things that need to be taken care of are taken care of. So setting up the joint financial plan, no matter what, is going to be important for you and the relationship, and particularly if you have children.
Yeah, especially if you want it to be successful. You can wing this, but this is not something I recommend that you wing. This is actually something you need to start talking about right away, even when you're dating, because, you don't want to waste a lot of time, because if you're in two completely financial categories and you can't figure out how to make that work, it can be a challenge. So my recommendation is to start right away having these conversations. You don't have to tell everybody your business, up front, but certainly start to talk about, habits around money and how people feel around money. There's a lot of psychology involved in money. And so you want to start to, immediately bring it to the table and start to open up over time, because you can learn a lot about a person as it relates to how they feel and how they handle their money.
Yeah, again, this is not relationship counseling, but
It's not relationship
but it could be, because a lot of these things really factor in there. Talk about budgeting and joint or joint accounts, or do you have one? Talk about that.
Yeah. And just talking about the counseling thing, a lot of people are in counseling for money. And so, if we can just begin to start to tackle these things beforehand, hopefully it can save us a couples counseling trip.
Yeah, it's one of those things that
One
sends
of
people
those
to counseling.
things.
There's
It
a
is.
lot of
It
things
is.
that send
It
you.
is.
This is one
It
of them.
But one of those things that can hopefully help is budgeting together. That's our number 3, being able to budget together. And so we want to be able to create a couples friendly budget, right? Because like I said, we all have our own spending habits and how we go about saving and spending. And so being able to come together as a couple is important. Talking about how we want to do our saving, how we want to do our spending. So being able to track our expenses, how much are you spending? Are there some opportunities to cut? So you can't cut anything until you know how much you're spending. So we got to be able to track that. There are applications out there that are apps that help us track our spending, or you can just use a good old fashioned spreadsheet. I'm a spreadsheet person, so I put down things on a spreadsheet to be able to monitor what I'm doing. Let's be able to allocate the money that we are making and bringing in to certain categories, and so we want to be able to allocate a certain amount of money towards our rent or utilities or mortgage, be able to allocate a certain amount towards saving and investing, and then discretionary spending, which is just that, those things that come up in entertainment and things like that. There's kind of a rule. It's called a 50-30-20 rule. So think about it in a sense of 50% towards needs of that income, 30% towards your wants, and then 20% towards like savings and debt repayment. So that's kind of just a rule. Obviously we can personalize and customize that when we sit down with the client to figure out how much they have. But just as a rule of thumb, 50-30-20 will go a long way towards helping you be able to manage what you have.
And that is the after-tax dollars, because Uncle Sam is getting his piece first. And so if you do the budgeting based on our gross income, you're going to have a problem.
And many people can attest to that, with tax day being last week and potentially some checks we had to write. Uncle Sam definitely comes in front, and then you get to save and spend after.
Yeah, he's getting paid no matter what. This whole thing, when we get into these finances, the budgeting together, the joint financial plan, what are your thoughts on whether or not people should have joint accounts?
That's a great question, Rufus, and that's actually one of the biggest ones. I see all different types. I see all different types. I see some couples I work with, some married couples. They do have a joint account, right? And they do everything out of a joint account. I've also seen couples have separate accounts, and I've also seen couples kind of do a combination. And so I've seen each of these things work. And so there is no one size fits all. So you really have to kind of look at your personal situation to figure out what can work best for you as a couple. But let's talk about some of the pros and cons of each. right?
us.
And so think about from, it's common. You think about, hey, we're coming together. Let's bring our money together. Let's do a joint account, so it's easier to think about from a shared expenses standpoint, right? Everything going into one account is easy to pay the bills, right? So that's a pro. On the con side, it could potentially lead to conflict over spending, because if you got that spender, you got that saver, and one person is consistently spending more than the other one, it could bring a little bit of conflict.
Yeah, because if we got 100 grand and I'm making 70 and you're making 30, why are you better dressed than me?
That is definitely something that we want to be able to talk about. And so talking about these things in advance is what's important. Let's talk about separate accounts. I have some couples that I work with that have separate accounts, and that works for them. So on the pro side, it's essentially about independence. You can spend as you was before you got married or came together as a couple. You can be able to have that independence around your spending. But on the con side, it's much harder to track those expenses. And so maybe you're paying for this, I'm paying for that. It's harder to keep track of, and setting those joint goals around saving and paying off debt is much harder to deal with when you have separate accounts.
Yeah, depending on where you are. I mean, if you got more money, it's easier. If you've got less money, then it becomes a lot more challenging to make sure all these things are happening. And even when they're separate accounts, there may be a separate account that takes care of all the household things that everybody's got to put money into to make sure those things are taken care of.
Which leads into the third way, which is actually called our hybrid way. So the hybrid way is where you have both, where you have a joint account, right? Where maybe you use that account to pay for those shared expenses, but you also keep aside individual accounts. And I know a lot of couples who do it this way, where they have that joint account, say, to pay the mortgage and utilities and, say, childcare expenses, but then they have their side account where you can call it their quote unquote allowance, right? Where they can do what they want to do and, spend how they want to spend. And so maybe they want to buy that nice purse, or, go out and do a trip with the fellas, and they can use the money for that purpose. And so, there is no one size fits all. So just figuring out what works for you as a family, as a unit, as a couple is what's important.
And what gives you peace of mind. So a lot of people, I won't say everybody, but I'll say a lot of people beyond all that still have a stash that just gives them some peace of mind that I've got something here in case everything goes awry. And maybe the stash just, I don't know what it does. It allows me to have a drink on the way home on Friday, or maybe it's just, I know I have to have something in case something happens that I can manage. And it's peace of mind that you get from that.
Another word they use is, they call it mad money.
Mad
right?
money.
Mad money. Just a little something on the
when
side.
I get mad, this is my money that I need to that I need to use. Debt becomes a big issue in this whole process. Talk about managing debt together.
So we definitely want to be able to manage that together. That's our fifth strategy. And so we want to be able to be honest about the debts that we have. And so coming in together and bringing things together, we want to be able to share with our partner, the debts that you have. Let's talk about our credit. Let's talk about our loans, what you're bringing to the table. It's not just about, assets, but it's also about expenses. And so being open about that, I actually, we're talking about ripping off the Band-Aid, Rufus. I tell my clients, why don't you share your credit report with each other? That's going all in. That's commitment.
That's all in.
That is all in. When you're at the point where you're comfortable sharing your credit report with your partner, you've crossed the threshold. And so being very open and honest about what you have and what you're doing, and then being able to prioritize how we're going to handle and tackle this debt, because maybe one person has more debt than the other, but you want to be able to have a plan around it. Start attacking the high interest credit cards and debt first. That's always a good rule of thumb. And then figure out how you're going to be able to repay some of these debt. Let's come up with a plan together. Let's come up with a plan of how we want to be able to pool our resources together, because it's much easier to pay down the debt when you have more income. And so coming up with a plan to be able to do it is important. And that's an important part of what couples should consider.
Indeed. Talk about the shared goals or saving for some of those that couples need to do.
Yeah. And so obviously, in coming together, we want to be able to begin to start to plan and be able to, think about some goals that we can do together. Because, I tell people, if you're not planning to do it together, you're planning to do it apart. So it's important to have those shared goals. And so think about basics. You start from the basics. Let's think about our emergency fund. Let's establish that emergency fund together. That's 6 months of bills. Let's both build towards that, right? We got short-term goals. Maybe we want to go on a trip. Maybe we want to buy some furniture. We can start to put those in place. We got long-term goals, right? Thinking about, okay, let's purchase a home together, right? Let's think about retirement. That's something that we can begin to plan together, as we think about coming together as a couple. And then, try to make everything automatic. One of the keys to being able to save and invest is just doing things automatically, kind of taking ourselves out the equation. And then, I want to just spend 1 minute of time here, Rufus. One of the big things when it comes to being able to plan for shared couples, children, right? We can do a whole episode on planning for children financially, but one of the keys that I would say is just plan as early as possible. If you know you want to have kids, just start early as possible to being able to plan around what that looks like and what that financial commitment is. Examples like daycare, schooling, activities, camp, college, just everyday expenses that come up. According to SoFi.com, the cost to raise a child to age 18 is actually over $400,000. And so if we think about it from that perspective, we want to be thoughtful in our planning when it comes to children.
We think about that perspective, we're not having children. How do we manage conflicts that happen?
So being able to handle conflict obviously is very important.
Number 7.
It just happens, right? It just happens. Anytime people come together, we have our own thoughts, beliefs, ideas. At some point conflict is going to happen. So, just some keys. First, just stay calm when it comes to dealing with money. Don't blame or argue about money. Just, talk it through. Focus on solutions, discuss compromises and alternatives, like how can we figure this out, right? And if you can't work through that financial stuff together, seek out help. Get a financial advisor, call Khomaeini Khan to be able to help you work through what you need to work through. Or if it's beyond that, talk to an actual counselor or therapist around these particular money sort of issues.
Yeah, look, that may be the one that should be number 1, because conflict is going to happen.
It's going to happen.
You can count on it. That was number 7. What's number 8, which is really why we get together every week to talk about these things.
Right. So we want to be able to build wealth, right? And so when we, tackle all this stuff, budgeting, all these things, the goal is really to build wealth. And so we want to be able to start saving and investing together as a couple. And so think about it as, hey, we're coming together to build something together, to build something for ourselves, for our family, for the future. Let's learn about investments. Maybe you haven't done a lot of investing. Let's do it together. That's something we can kind of come together as a couple to kind of work through. Let's learn about stocks. Let's learn about bonds. Let's learn about real estate mutual funds. Start small, right? You don't have to start off with $10,000 investing. Maybe you want to put in a joint account, couple $100 each, and it builds up over time. Even think about planning for retirement. That's a long-term goal. So just think about things that you can do together to begin to build wealth for you and your family. And again, working with a advisor, reaching out to my office, talking to us, we can help you put a plan together if you don't know where to start, and just kind of get some practical steps around beginning to build wealth for you and your family.
All good and important stuff. And I'm not going to even go through what the keys are here. I'm just going to encourage you to call Khomaeini at 630-575-5046 or hit him at the website, wvonwealthshow.com. Khomaeini, what are we going to do next week?
So next week, we're talking about the other side of it. And the other side is financial strategies and considerations in divorce.
In fact, in case it didn't work.
It didn't work out, we're going to talk about what you need to consider financially from a divorce perspective.
I don't think 30 minutes is going to be enough, but we're going to
try to get it in.
We're going to do what we can. Yes. Always good, always important. Look, people, again, reach Khomaeini, call him or text him, 630-575-5046, 630-575-5046, or you can go to the website, wvonwealthshow.com, wvonwealthshow.com, fill out a contact card or complete the Discovery Financial Survey and get started today. Khomaeini?
Just want to thank you again, Rufus, and thank the listeners. This was a fun topic, just being able to talk about what couples can do together. But yeah, I encourage people to reach out to me. We can have some more conversation around kind of coming together as a couple and things you should do. So I look forward to talking to you all next week. Thank you again.
Reach out to him. This is important. If you think this was fun, wait till next week when we talk about what happens when it didn't work. Equitable Advisors LLC, member FINRA SIPC, a broker dealer. Equitable Advisors LLC, an SEC registered investment advisor. Khomaeini, always appreciate what you bring to us every week.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Thank you.
We're going to leave right there for today, ladies and gentlemen. Had a lot going on. Got even more tomorrow. You want to make sure you're tuned in. I'm not going to even tell you. Okay, I'll tell you. Listen to the promos on the rest of the shows. Annette, always appreciate you for all the information you give us. It gets us through the day. And Titus, always a lot going on, man. You just keep it moving like we need it. So thank you so much for all that you do. And ladies and gentlemen, I'll ask you, as I always do, as you go through the course of the day, you will come across people who are dealing with things that you know absolutely nothing about. So please be kind, always. And with that, Annette, tell us what's the headlines, and T-Dub, take us home.
59 degrees as temps are expected to climb well into the 70s on this Tuesday, April 21st, 2026. I'm Annette Flournoy, and in the headlines, lawmakers are making some big moves in Springfield in hopes of keeping the Chicago